According to reports, 20 years ago, China's total population in Africa was only tens of thousands, and some small countries had only a few hundred Chinese in the whole country, but now there are more than 1 million Chinese in Africa. In Africa, there are many Chinese in every country. There are more countries such as Nigeria, South Africa, Angola, etc., with about 300,000 people. These are the countries where the first batch of Chinese went to gold panning. Kenya, Ethiopia, Cameroon, and other countries are at the middle level, with populations ranging from 80,000 to 150,000, and other countries have relatively fewer populations. Why so many Chinese come to Africa? One entrepreneurs believe that Africa is an uncultivated place with unlimited business opportunities and opportunities to make money everywhere, and the prospect of starting a business in Africa is bright. 2. The consumption in Africa is low, and the expenses are small. You can save a lot of money when you return to China. Because Africa is relatively backward, the local expenses are relatively small, and the relative income is relatively high. 3. The Chinese have a high status in the local area. On the one hand, they have a high income, and on the other hand, the Chinese population has a good reputation, so they are more respected. 4. Some Chinese men who go to Africa still have a curious mind. African girls are more attracted to Chinese people, so the local Chinese men find African girls to live with. In short, based on the above analysis, the reasons why many Chinese people are willing to go to Africa can be summed up in 5 words: rich money and happiness. In Africa, there are many illegitimate children without fathers. They live with their mothers and face great pressure in life. On the one hand, they lack financial resources. It is difficult to find another one, so life is not so easy. These Chinese African mixed-race children are actually very cute. They have the wildness of African children and the intelligence and kindness of Chinese children. Therefore, compared with local children, they have obvious advantages. They may become national realities in the future, but they have to bear without the pain of my father. It is difficult to live with my mother. Vivian Karen is a married young woman in Zambia who is full of affection and curiosity towards Chinese people. Vivian said, "I know that the Chinese are kind, hard-working, and have great drive. They have also brought great benefits to our country. I am very grateful to them." When she has an illegitimate child with the owner of a Chinese restaurant, it leads Vivian into great distress. "I shouldn't have worked in that Chinese restaurant," Vivian said bitterly and helplessly. After Vivian's child was born, the owner of the restaurant disappeared, leaving Vivian to suffer helplessness and pain alone. The birth of this illegitimate child also made Vivian's husband feel great humiliation. He refused to let the child live in his home and drove the child away. Vivian had to go back to her natal home with her child, a remote and impoverished small mountain village. Due to the harsh local environment, there were many mosquitoes, and the child suffered from malaria. Beta Malanga is a Zambian girl. She is very beautiful. She was elected as the town flower of Bazimo town and is the dream goddess of many local boys. Similar to other places, there is an iron mine managed by a Chinese company near Biximomo town. It was here that he met Mr. Wang from China. Malanga also has some friends who have found Chinese boyfriends, so Malanga didn't think too much about it. In the process of interacting with Mr. Wang bought a lot of clothes and cosmetics for Malanga, and also bought her a mobile phone he likes very much. Mr. Wang lived with her soon. It wasn't until Malanga found out that she was pregnant that she hurriedly shared the good news with Mr. Wang, only to find that Mr. Wang's cell phone could no longer be connected. She went to the iron mining area to inquire, only to find out that Mr. Wang had returned to Shanghai. The sad Malanga wants to kill the child, but the local people have to follow the priest's advice. The priest thinks that the child is a gift from the gods, especially after marrying the Chinese, so he recommends she gave birth to the child, and when the child was born, Malanga named him Tawanda, which means gift of God. In addition to the joy that this child brought to Malanga, it also brought her great pain and burden. Later, Malanga met a Chinese man named Sun. This Mr. Sun soon lived with her. A year later, the Chinese man also disappeared suddenly. Malanga gave birth to her second child. Like the first child, this child also has a Chinese face. This time, Malanga's parents couldn't take it anymore, and they kicked the 2 illegitimate children out of the house. Malanga, who has nowhere to go, is living a difficult life with his 2 children, and there is no news of the 2 fathers of the children. The illegitimate child of Vivian Quarren and Beta Malanga is the life representative of millions of Chinese illegitimate children. How many illegitimate children have been left behind by more than 1 million Chinese men in Africa? Unable to count. Editors note in the past 20 years, more and more Chinese people have come to Africa. The Chinese have created economic prosperity for Africa and have also been recognized by Africans. However, Chinese people in Africa also need to respect and love themselves, and it is not a bad idea to find a girlfriend locally, even if it is a temporary relief from loneliness. It is more or less understandable. If you have a child, you must be responsible for the child you give birth to, and you can't just walk away, and you can't let those orphans and widows live in pain.